Hey, what's good, Rhyme Masters? Welcome to the Rhyme Master Community Stream, or whatever I'm going to call this thing that I do. Anyway, it's good to be here. Glad you're checking this out. We are in the midst of recording the audiobook of Fearless Freestyling. Today is day 3 that we are focusing on. While I'm recording this, you have access to Fearless Freestyling, the audiobook, for free. Check the link in the description to get connected, and you'll get access to this recording. A little bit more, probably the live broadcast recording that we're doing, as well as like kind of the cleaned up version that I'll put together when time permits, as we do all the editing and whatnot. The reason I'm doing this is because it's just simpler for me to kind of integrate my ideas that I want to create to help support people on their growth rap journey, to introduce them to growth rap and what it is, rap as a tool for personal growth that allows you to master rap as well as master yourself and have a confidence in yourself and in your skill of rap to do whatever you want to do with it. So that's what we're doing here. And I'm doing a live recording of the audiobook, so you'll hear my retakes on some things, but you also get my added commentary that I'm throwing in. So sometimes what I've written in the ebook triggers some stories that I didn't want to put into the ebook, because I wanted to kind of keep it quick and condensed so you can get the information, get enough of the context and information that you need, and then be able to keep it pushing, keep it moving. But the audiobook allows us to get a little bit deeper. And yes, the coming challenge will allow us to get even deeper and help applying and practicing this fearless freestyling that we're into. So, okay, enough of that, enough of the preamble. Day 3, blocks and barriers. Let's do it. Day 3, your blocks and barriers. Often we rush to solutions without fully understanding our barriers to freestyling. So on this day, we will explore the ways we get in our own way, taking time to expose our excuses. Simply identifying the thoughts and actions that move us away from our best and brightest can be enough to free ourselves to freestyle more authentically. All right, let's get into it. Keep it 100. This is the new keep it real, a saying from the golden era of rap music. For me, it means being honest, but honesty is hard when you struggle with making mistakes. To avoid this pain, we tell ourselves stories, talk bad to ourselves, and don't claim to be freestylers, though we love it. As we complete the work of this day, keep it 100 with yourself. Tell yourself the truth to the best of your ability. The stories we tell ourselves. These are excuses. The stories allow us to be okay with not freestyling while wanting to freestyle, releasing the personal pressure in the moment. In high school, I told myself I would only beatbox while my friends freestyled. I shook my head no when they offered a turn in the cipher, but my heart wanted to rhyme. That was just one of my excuses that blocked my progress. When the opportunity to freestyle presents itself, what stories do you tell yourself that prevent freestyling? All right, I'll detour there. So this idea, excuses are the stories that we tell ourselves. And it's about just easing the pain of the moment of wanting something and not getting it, easing the suffering of the moment. We might be telling ourselves we can't do it, and that doesn't feel good. So then we create a story that, okay, well, in my case, I'll beatbox instead of freestyling. In high school, I was convinced that I would just be a beat maker and producer, and leave the rhyming to other people, even though I had the desire to get on the mic myself. So, it eases the pain and the discomfort of the moment, but being 100 and being real with myself, I've wanted to rhyme since I was like 9 years old. All right. Back to the book. The inner hater. That voice inside our heads can be cruel in its attempts to keep us safe. When we are not certain of our success while rapping, we start talking badly to ourselves. Avoiding negative self-talk alone is enough reason to give in. Let me try this again. Avoiding negative self-talk alone is enough reason to not give in to our desire to freestyle. Throughout my rap journey, my self-talk told me every missed rhyme and overused filler word while I was freestyling. At its worst, my inner voice turned into my inner hater, actively insulting my performances while on the mic. Often, the advice is to ignore this voice, but it's hard to ignore a voice inside your head. Instead, we can hear that voice, notice what it is saying, and write it down. Once we have a list of the common self-talk sayings, it becomes easier to understand why we say these things to ourselves. Okay. On this point, I remember it was probably about 3 or 4 months ago, I did this. I literally wrote down some of the common things that I would say to myself that was negative, that was draining my energy. And then I took those things and thought about what I want to tell myself instead. And from there, it actually became a little verse. Now, I don't have that journal with me at this moment, but maybe in the when I put all the stuff together to make the ebook, the audiobook, the ebook, the course, all that, I'll include the little that verse that I wrote. While this is focusing on freestyling, I wanted to talk about that because essentially it's an example of turning towards the voice and bringing it up to the surface and using that as a way to grow, learn, and unblock our own barriers so that we can continue to grow in this path. All right, back to the audiobook. I am not a freestyler. This is the most difficult block to overcome. Once we adopt a belief about who we are not, it becomes challenging to change it. For this reason, there are more rappers than freestylers. I didn't become a rapper until I learned to freestyle. I was a beatboxer turned beat maker in my crew in high school. I'm gonna say that again. I was a beatboxer turned beat maker in my crew in high school, but I wanted to freestyle. I didn't learn to freestyle until I saw how I could become a freestyler. Yeah, that's what I wrote. I didn't learn to freestyle until I saw how I could become a freestyler. I had to be open to becoming more than a beat maker. If I clung to my identity as a beat maker, I would continue to tell myself stories that strengthen my excuse to avoid freestyling. With enough reasons to not freestyle, I wouldn't, and the desire to freestyle would fade into wish I could. In what ways do I missed a word there. In what ways do you describe yourself that block freestyling? All right, I'll make sure I make that change in the text. So this point here is about our identity and what we tell ourselves who we are and who we are not. when we do that, we are cementing a belief, and everything that we do needs to be aligned to that belief, whether it's an empowering belief or not. So, though I wanted to freestyle, when I told myself I am not a freestyler, that created tension and suffering for me. And it wasn't until, this whole process of just learning the power of the self-talk to reinforce a belief, whether that belief is for you and what you want or against you. Once I realized that, it's like, okay, if there's something that I want to do that I currently don't do, I use the language of I am becoming or I am learning. That allows me to acknowledge the truth of what I want and where I'm at in the present moment, but not cementing an identity that I don't want. So if you're telling yourself, as someone who raps and occasionally you freestyle, but you keep saying I'm not a freestyler, then how is that? Notice the tension that creates within you versus saying I'm learning how to freestyle or I'm becoming a freestyler. And there might even be some other tensions around that identity of like, what does it mean to be a freestyler, which you have to undo. So if you're like, I'm not a freestyler, I'm not like Harry Mack, for example, that takes us back to comparisons, right? If we think to be a freestyler, we have to be like Harry Mack in Supernatural, for example, then, and that's not what we want, then that keeps us from freestyling. But if you say I'm a freestyler and you do it for the purpose of growth and self-exploration and creativity, and it's not aligned with this ideal of excellence that comes from entertainers who freestyle, then you can redefine it for yourself. But you have to recognize how you're defining it now and defining yourself now, that it limits you, how it limits you in a way. All right, back to the book. Let me get to the next part. Okay. It's a short section, but we can go deep on each of these days, which I think is what the challenge is going to be for. But yeah, this is a very short section, but this is a lot of what the work is. Day 3 practices: discovering your blocks and barriers. So 1, reflect in a journal or anywhere you can do distraction-free writing. Reflect on the internal blocks and barriers to your vision. What actions get in the way? What do you hear yourself saying? What are your limiting beliefs? What reasons come up for not freestyling more? So this is an important part where you're writing down and exposing the things you hear yourself saying that excuse you from freestyling more, even though you want to. Number 2, freestyle with your motivation in mind. So engage in a freestyle practice session for 30 seconds to 3 minutes. Let your insights from your blocks and reflection guide your ideas and flow. Let go of self-judgment. Mistakes are expected and encouraged. The goal is to discover new thoughts, emotions, and insights about your blocks and barriers. Recording the freestyle is recommended as it helps with the next step of number 3, review. After your session, reflect on your experience. What did you notice? What was surprising about this session? What do you wonder about your blocks? And note, this can be a powerful and fun session. Your emotions may be activated more than usual, but you are encouraged to have fun with voicing these thoughts. Let me read the conclusion and I'll give more commentary. So, conclusion: many of our beliefs, thoughts, and actions hide our fears that drive the need to be perfect in freestyle rap. Exposing them is a crucial step because it brings what we are afraid of into our awareness. No longer hidden, these internal blocks begin to lose their power to stall our motivation. These fears uncovered become the secret key to unlocking a greater vision. All right. Okay, so on the practices. So again, that same process of written reflection, reflect, rap, review. You are really just trying to notice those thoughts, those things that we say. And this can be powerful, it can be fun, but it also could be challenging because, again, we can be very conditioned to not look at this stuff. We can just be conditioned to just not look at the mistakes. And even if we look at the mistakes, sometimes you may do this where you will say, you'll justify it, right? You'll justify the barrier. So again, with the example of I'm not a freestyler, you'll start hearing yourself say, yeah, I'm not a freestyler. I'm not trying to go out and perform for strangers passing by. I'm not trying to have people give me random words. And it's like, yeah, I don't want that. And what everything in that statement, as an example, is a way that you're blocking yourself from the practice of freestyling. Because it's not that you need to go out and perform. It's just that your definition of what it means to freestyle is more connected to, in this example, entertainers, people who freestyle as entertainment, as opposed to people who are freestyling for their personal growth. And if we don't expose that, I mean, basically up until this point, it hasn't been exposed. It's been operating, driving back your motivation, reducing it. But now that it's exposed and it's on the page and you've rapped about it, or you will be freestyling about it, you get to see what's connected to it and what fears might be connected to it as well. And once we understand, and this might even get into what the next day is, but once we understand how we get in our own way, then we can start to use that to understand what our fears are and really how to engage with those fears in a way that liberates us to be able to freestyle and just express ourselves more, right? So that's day 3. Next will be day 4, and actually day 4 is your fears. So we'll get into that. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Desmond at rhymemasters.com. You can email me there. Like I said, while I am recording this live and putting it together, check out the link in the description or the link in the bio, and you'll be able to get free access to this audio book as well as the ebook. Once I'm done, then it will be for purchase at a reasonable price as we continue on to grow Rhyme Masters and the Growth Rap community to be able to provide people with more offerings and experiences that help people engage in growth rap, which is, again, rap to help you master your sense of self. So, yeah, we got just 2 more days to go and then a conclusion, and then we'll be done with this live recording of the audiobook. I hope you enjoy this. This is fun. It's fun to put it out there. It's fun to go back through the stuff that I've written, and I'm already got some ideas churning about what I'm going to do for the challenge to make it more impactful for you. So join, get connected, check out that link, and I'll see you on the other side. As always, Genius Servered out. I think I need an air horn. Yes. Genius Servered out. I will catch you in the next one.